Today we're working on 1.7, and we are going to be working on adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing with integers, meaning positive and negative numbers. This is something that you've seen for the past 3 years, and you're going to see it again every single year. But as a review, we focus one whole lesson on it because not only are you doing these operations with 2 numbers, but we're going to include multiple numbers in some of them. There are some changes on the notes as well that we're going to make as we go. So looking at this first page, we're just focusing on multiplying and dividing. That seems to be the easiest to work with. And the thing to remember with this is if the signs are the same, your answer is positive. If the signs are different, your answer is negative. So you complete the operation like normal. And then if both signs are the same, your answer will be positive. If both signs are different, your answer will be negative. So let's look at this. I know that 4 times 5 is 20. And since both of my signs are the same, it's going to be positive. I'm going to go down to example 3. I know that 4 times 5 is 20. But since both of my signs are different, then it's going to be negative. So I want you to do 2 and 4. Okay. On 2, 4 times 5 is 20. Both of my signs are the same, so it stays positive. 4 times 5 is 20. My signs are different, so it's negative. Any questions on multiplying? All right, let's move on to division. Same thing with division. Same sign positive, different signs negative. You do division like normal. So example 5, 15 divided by 3 is 5. Both numbers are positive. My answer is positive. 15 divided by 3 is 5. 1 is negative, 1 is positive, so they're different signs. So my answer is negative. Go ahead and do 6 and 8 if you haven't already. Okay, number 6, 15 divided by 3 is 5. Both signs are the same, so it stays positive. 15 divided by 3 is 5. My signs are different, so it's negative. Any questions? All right, let's go down to where we have multiple operations. Okay. Example 9. I'm just going to remember with the commutative property of multiplication, you can multiply these in any order if you want. I'm just going to multiply them groups at a time. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take -3 times -3, and I get a positive 9. And then I'm going to take -2 times 4, and I get a -8. And now I'm just going to multiply both of those two together. 9 times 8 is 72, and since my signs are different, it's negative. Kind of how I do those. Okay. On number 10, I want you to change something real quick. This -5 and -4, I want you to put a parentheses around -4 because we're going to multiply those together, okay? So does anyone know what 3 cubed is? Yeah, I'm glad you didn't say 9. 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. Okay, and those are all positive numbers. And then 5 times 4 is 20. And since both signs are the same, it's a positive 20. And I can leave it like that. Leave it like an improper fraction. I can't reduce that fraction any further. And I don't want you to put them into mixed numbers. Okay, since we did this one on 10, I want you to try 11 and 12 on your own. And you should have -3 times -3, which is a positive 9 for the first one, 11. And then 12 is just 3 times 3, which is 9. So on 13, we are going to be multiplying. And I'm going to start with 2 times -3, and then I'll do -5 times 7, and then I'll figure out my -3 squared. So I want you to do those first steps with example 13 first. Yeah.
Example 10 is supposed to be a fraction because on the bottom, I did it like -5 minus. Or I got -3.
Oh, that's fine. If that's what you did, that's fine. Yeah, I just switched it to multiplication because we haven't gotten to subtraction yet, but you can figure it the way that. Okay, so +2 times -3 is a -6. -5 times a +7 is -35. And -3 squared is -3 times -3, which is 9. Are there any questions on that first step? All right, next I'm gonna multiply -6 times the -35. And I know that when I multiply those two together, because the signs are the same, I'm gonna have a positive number. So 35 times 6 is 210. And now I'm gonna multiply that times 9. And I get 1,890. Positive or negative? Okay. All right, I want you guys to go ahead and, I want you to go ahead and do this one. I will tell you that the -1 should be in a parentheses. It should be, and it's not. And you'll know why when we get to the back. And when you are finished, check your answer up here. Any questions on the front page? Okay, let's go to adding integers. Okay, so what I'm gonna do with the adding integers is I'm going to explain the rules. Some of you may need them, some of you may not. That is okay, but I am still going to explain them. So I'm gonna explain the rules up here, and then I'm gonna have you do the bottom part on your own, and then we'll come back and check the answers. So what this is saying is that when you are adding two positive numbers, there is nothing different than what you already know, right? So I'm going to use the example of 7 plus 2, both positive numbers. When you add them, you're going to get a positive result. So over here, I'm going to say add numbers. And you're going to get a positive answer. Okay. Now, that's not new. Let's look at the next one. A negative plus a negative. What if I took -7 plus a -2? When you have two negatives, what operation do you do with that? Do you add them or subtract them? Think of it this way. If I have 7 negatives and I have 2 negatives, how many total negatives do I have? -9. So what did I do with my 7 and my 2?
You added them.
I added them. So I get a negative. I have 9 negatives. So over here, I'm going to say add numbers. And your answer will be a negative answer. So, you know how in multiplication and division, I said if your signs are the same, it's positive. If your signs are different, it's negative. those rules do not apply to adding integers. They don't apply. So only for multiplying and dividing. As you can see here, these signs are the same. But my answer isn't positive, it's negative, okay? All right, let's go to the next set. Now notice here you have a big blue circle and a small red circle. The big blue one is telling you that your positive number is going to be the bigger number. And your negative number is going to be the smaller number. So here, I'm going to take my bigger number 7, and I'm going to add it to my smaller number 2, a negative 2. Okay. Now, what happens when our signs are different in adding? Do we add or subtract them? We subtract them. So I'm going to subtract my numbers. So 7 minus 2 is 5. And now I have to figure out the sign of my answer. Does anyone know how to tell the sign of your answer? Anyone want to volunteer? I don't have a lot of talkers up here. In this problem, how do you know if your 5 here is going to be positive or negative?
Because 7 minus negative, it's like, because it doesn't make sense if it's.
Okay, Lily.
Whatever the bigger number is, they'll take that, but it's positive or negative, they'll take that.
Yeah, I'll keep that sign. So here is going to be keep sign of bigger number. In this case, it's positive because the bigger number is positive. All right, let's do this last one. This time, my smaller number is positive, so 2, and my bigger number is negative. Again, my signs are different, so I am going to subtract my numbers. And I get 5, but this time my bigger number is negative, so my answer is going to be negative. Keep sign of bigger number. Okay, any questions on those rules? All right, so now with a partner or not, it's up to you. I want you to do examples 15 through 20, and then we're going to come back and check them. Oh, there is one. No, I'm going to leave it. Okay, go ahead and work on that. Video while we work on these. Really quick, I want you guys to change number 20, example 20, for just a second. So this says 2 plus 3 minus 7. I want you to put plus a negative 7. And then for 6, I want you to put plus a I just want you to change that to plus. I'm sorry.
And then but
Well, what if it?
No, it's just positive. I just want to keep it just like this.
What would it be? What if it was? Is that one? I got 7. I got 7.
It would have been
yeah, I got
5 minus 7 would have been a negative 2, 4, 7. Yep, it would have been 7. So nope, you don't have to change it. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and go up here and solve 15 through 18 really quick. So we have 6 plus 8 is 14. We have a negative 6 plus a negative 8. Since the signs are the same, I'm going to add them. And since both of them are negative, my answer is negative. Our signs are different, so I'm going to subtract 8 and 6, and I get 2. And since my bigger number is negative, my answer is negative. Signs are different, so I subtract, and I get 2. And since my bigger number is positive, my answer is positive. Okay, moving down to examples 19 and 20. Because there are negatives and subtractions in this problem, we have to go in order from left to right. Yes, Kyle.
Okay. So never mind.
Okay.
I want more.
All right. So I'm going to add 7 plus a negative 4. And my signs are different, so I subtract them. My larger number is positive, so I keep my 3 positive, and I'm just gonna rewrite everything that I have not done yet. Now I'm gonna add 3 and 5. 3 plus 5 is 8, and then I rewrite what I haven't done yet. And in this case, I have 3 plus a negative 8. When my signs are different, I subtract, and I get 0. Well, 0 is neither positive or negative, so my answer is just 0. Okay? Questions on that? Okay, let's go ahead and do the last one on this page. All right, next I'm gonna do 2 plus 3, and I get 5. And I'm gonna rewrite everything I did not do, plus a negative 7, plus 6, plus a negative 3. Now I'm going to add 5 and negative 7. Because my signs are different, I have to subtract. So 7 minus 5 is 2. My larger number is negative, so my 2 is negative. Now I rewrite what I have not done. Now I'm gonna add negative 2 and 6. Because my signs are different, I subtract. 6 minus 2 is 4, and since my bigger number is positive, my 4 stays positive. And now 4 plus a negative 3, I subtract them and I get 1. My bigger number is positive, so my answer is positive. Are there any questions on that one?
No, but I have another question.
What is your other question?
So if I have a fraction. I have a fraction and it's negative. So it's like 3/4, like negative 3/4. But I have to change, if it's like plus 3/12, and I have to change that 4 to 12. Does my negative go to the top and first?
It doesn't matter which number it's on.
Well, because
The whole thing is gonna be negative, the whole fraction. So when you combine your numerators, the negative is with your numerator.
it is with the
Mhm.
so it's not just a negative fraction, it's negative.
The whole fraction is negative. So, let me pause.
It's like 26.
Okay, now we're gonna move to page 3. Page 3 is subtraction. Now with subtraction, I have a process that I do. And I basically call it adding the opposites. And this may not be a method you want to use, and I do not want to confuse you. So if you already have subtraction with integers down in your head, and this does not make sense to you, ignore it and do what you know. But this is what helped me when I was learning integers with subtraction, and so I'm gonna show you, okay? So, I'm going to go over the rules, and then again, I'm gonna have you come down and do these 4 on your own. So in subtraction, I change my problem to an addition problem. That way, I don't even have to think about it. I've already learned the addition rules. So I just follow those rules. So this is telling you right here that if you're subtracting 2 positive numbers, you're going to keep the number positive, change your subtraction to addition, so we're adding, and then we're going to change the second number to its opposite from positive to negative. Let me show you what that looks like. If I had 2 plus 5, I'm sorry, minus 5. Sorry. Okay. I'm going to keep my 2, leave my first number alone. I'm going to change my subtraction to addition. And I'm going to add the opposite of a positive 5. And so I'm going to change my positive 5 to a negative 5. Yes. So up here, I have 2 minus 5. And it becomes 2 plus a negative 5. Another way to say this that is like a riddle in your head, a lot of teachers don't like this, but if this helps you, keep, change, change. You keep the first number, you change to addition, and you change the second number to its opposite, okay? So then in this case, all I have to do is remember the addition rules. When I'm adding with different signs, I'm actually subtracting the numbers and I get 3. And my sign will take on the sign of the largest number, negative, okay? Let's do the next one. What if I had 2 minus a negative 5? Okay. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to keep my first number. I'm going to change from subtraction to addition. And I'm gonna add the opposite of -5, which is +5. So I kept the first number, changed the operation, changed the sign. Keep, change, or add the opposite. So 2 minus a -5 becomes 2 plus a +5. And we all know 2 plus 5 is 7. Okay, let's do this next one. What if I had a negative number minus a positive number? Same rule. Keep the first number, change the operation to subtraction. Now I have a +5, so I'm going to change it to a -5. So I go from -2 minus 5 to -2 plus a -5. Now I know my addition rules. If my signs are the same, I add my two numbers together, 7, and since they're both negative, my answer is negative. Any confusion or anything on this yet? Perfect. Let's do this last one. What if I had a -2 minus a -5? I keep my first number, leave it alone, change it to addition, and I change my -5 to its opposite, a positive. So I added the opposite. So instead of -2 minus a -5, I have -2 plus a +5. And now I use my addition rules. My signs are different, so I subtract them. My larger number is positive, so my answer is positive. Okay, I would like for you to do examples 21 through 24 on your own. And I'll give you about a minute to do that. Okay, 8 minus 2 is 6. That's a normal subtraction problem. 2 minus 8, I'm going to change this to 2 plus a -8. I can even write it like this, like that. And since my signs are different, I subtract and I get 6. My larger number is negative. I make it negative. -2 minus 8, I'm going to change it to -2 plus a -8. My signs are the same, so I add them and I get 10. Both numbers are negative. My answer is negative. I'm going to change this one from -2 minus a -8 to -2 plus a positive. So I just keep, change. Now both my signs are different, so I subtract. My bigger number is positive, so my answer is positive. All right, now we're going to move down to fractions. I put fractions in here because it is going to be on your homework and you have to keep familiarized with how to solve fractions. So with adding and subtracting fractions, you must have common denominators and you want to pick the smallest common denominator that you can. So what is the smallest common denominator that you can think of for 5 and 8? 40. So I have to change this denominator to a 40. What do I multiply 5 by to get 40? 8. And if I multiply my denominator by 8, I multiply my numerator by 8. And now I can rewrite 3/5 to its equivalent of 24 over 40. Now I have to change my 8 to a 40, and I could do that by multiplying it by 5. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. And now this fraction becomes a -35/40. Questions? Okay, now we're going to solve this like we did with our integer ops. Remember, whenever we're adding or subtracting denominators, your denominator stays the same. So I know my denominator is going to be 40. But one fraction is positive, one fraction is negative. That means I have to subtract my numerators. So 35 minus 24 gives me 11. And since 35 is the bigger number and it's negative, my fraction is negative. And it does not matter where you put the negative symbol in the numerator, the middle, or the denominator, the whole fraction is negative. We have -11/40. Okay, Do you guys think you could do 26 on your own?
I did it.
Okay, anyone still working on 26? No? Oh, you are? Okay, so I'll give you a little bit of time to work on 26, and then if you're done, you can start on 27. So I'm gonna pause the video for just a minute. Okay, so I have -1/4 minus a -3/8. And I am gonna go ahead and change this to an addition, so change this to addition and change this to its opposite. So now I have -1/4 plus 3/8. I'm also going to change my denominators. What is the least common denominator for this one? 8, which means we don't have to change the second fraction. She was a little bit loud on that one. So I'm gonna turn this to an 8 by multiplying both the top and bottom by 2. And I don't have to change this fraction because the denominator is already 8. So I have -2/8 plus 3/8. -2 plus 3 is a +1. So you should have gotten 1/8. Okay, questions? All right, let's go down to the bottom. I'm gonna rewrite my problem right here. This is how I want you to do your homework by rewriting your work. You didn't have to do it on this, but. Oops, I put 2. Okay, I'm gonna change all of my denominators to 12. So I have to multiply the first one by 6, the second one by 3, and the last one by 4. Go ahead and check to make sure you converted those all correctly. Okay, once I've converted them, I'm gonna take the first set, -6/12 plus 21/12. So since my signs are different, I'm gonna subtract 21 and 6, and I get 15. And my 15 is gonna be positive because my bigger number is positive. And I'm gonna put 12s down here. And then I'm gonna rewrite my -8/12 up here. And 15 minus 8 is 7. So my final answer is 7/12. And I can't reduce that fraction, so that is my final answer. Okay, questions? Let's move on to page 4. Were you guys able to finish that? Okay, let's go to the back. I'm gonna do 1 through 3 with you, then you're gonna do practice 1 through 3 on your own. And there is probably going to be a new rule unless you learned it in pre-algebra already. Here is the rule. I'm gonna explain it, then I'm gonna show it. Anytime you have a negative without a parenthesis, you have to treat it as a -1 times your base and exponent. What do I mean by that? This right here is the same as, I'm gonna rewrite it, -1 times 5 squared. Okay. So I know that 5 squared is 5 times 5, so I'm doing -1 times 5 times 5. Be very careful, because this is not -5 times -5, which is what you may have done in the past. And I actually used to do that too. And then I learned after teaching algebra for so many years that that was incorrect. So I'm gonna solve this problem. -1 times 5 is a -5. And -5 times 5 is a -25. Now, what about the next one? Now my negative is inside the parenthesis with the 5, so that's telling me I have to square -5 times -5. Okay, so this one is different. This one is just regular -5 times -5.
Wait,
Which
why
is-
that other one different?
Because the negative is not, it is not within a parenthesis. It's actually a separate value. It's a negative value times a positive squared. Okay, it's different. It is different and it takes getting used to. Okay. So this answer would be a positive 25 because a negative times a negative is a positive. All right, the last example. I always tell students, anytime you see a negative on the outside of a parenthesis and there is no number, put a 1. Always put a 1. We're gonna be doing this all year long. And then it won't confuse you because you're distributing that -1 to whatever is inside the parentheses. So the way that we would write this one is -1 times -5 times -5, because we have -5 squared like we did in 2, but then we have a negative on the outside like we did in number 1. So -1 times -5 is a +5. And a +5 times a -5 is a -25. Okay. Are there any questions on that? I know that can be a little bit confusing. All right, I want you to do the 3 practice problems on your own, and then we will be done. And I'm gonna go ahead and solve them right now. You can look up when you're finished and check your answers because I know the bell stopped ringing. Okay. The rules are in your notes, but at the bottom of this page, I have another set of rules for integers that you can use. And I told students you can cut it out and put it on the front of your cover if you need to, or anywhere that's easily accessible. But only if you need to, you don't have to, or you can just refer back to these notes. Okay, so go ahead and check practice 1 through 3. Do I have any questions? Okay, your homework is 1.7, all blue flag problems. You are dismissed, and that concludes our video.